I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bill, can I just ask about this step in memory of the 20th anniversary of 9/11? When the terrible incident.
And the 14 troops died in
Yes.
Afghanistan.
Bill, can I just ask about this step in memory of the 20th anniversary?
Thank you.
Hard to believe it was 20 years. There's something to see about the rest.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that Mike Bellmeyer
I'm sorry, guys.
wife drove by my house and pulled in to tell me this had happened. 20 years, I can't. Okay. Okay, would someone like to make a motion? We open the meeting.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Under old business, review the current status of the following. Project to reduce groundwater in Hamilton Park, preparation of the town to accept heritage estates infrastructure. Preparation of the town to accept Woodland Estates infrastructure, plans for repairing the highway garage and the roof maintenance. So okay, we've got a letter in your package. I'll start with Hamilton Park Water District. An application for the installation of the polyphosphate was hand delivered by H2M to the Orange County Department of Health on August 25th. Orange County Department of Health has typically required 4 to 6 weeks to review the similar applications. We've requested the county to expedite it in their review. The lead engineer was on vacation the first week we got there, so it's going to take. Heritage Estate subdivision. We are scheduled to participate in a video conference with Attorney Norton, developer Mumford, and Steve Esposito, the developer's consultant, on September 15th. Developer Mumford has indicated that the remaining punch list items are to be completed by that time. Okay, they are working toward the dedication of the public infrastructure, including review of the as-built plans, legal descriptions, and road parcels, and so forth and so on. Steve Esposito has submitted responses to our November 12th, 2020 comments on the treatment proposed for well number 6, which is currently being reviewed. Well number 6 is going to be the thing that's going to hold up this whole process, I do believe. Woodland Estates, September 3rd, 2021, after Hurricane Ida. The H2M office held field reviews and reviewed the condition of the subdivision. Observed no damage and minimal ponding, which is good. Yeah. On September 9th, 2021, we spoke with engineer Higgins and understand that the remaining items will be submitted shortly. That's their function. So things are moving along pretty well in Woodland Estates. As for the highway garage, we are attempting to schedule a conference call between our office, H2M, the shoring designer, TAM Enterprises, and the material supplier. When they all get together, they're going to talk about the complete cost proposal. We want to complete the cost proposal for this work. So that's going on.
Our last meeting, we talked about recontacting the insurance company.
Yeah.
Because we got a check for 70,000.
Right.
It looks like it's going to be a lot more.
That's correct.
To kind of reopen that. Is that
No, it's not going to. I mean, we'll wait and see what it's going to cost. We don't. That's what they're going to work on in the next meeting. To develop the cost of the work.
Did you gentlemen turn on your microphones?
Well, she said that. That was nice.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, I had brought that forward that probably we should have a supplemental claim.
Yeah.
Because based on what I hear and what I see.
Right.
I think it's gonna be substantially more. You know, so,
well, we should have this cost figure for too long.
and then the oil adjuster will come down. Okay, good.
Because what happened
Yeah.
was, they couldn't see the damage inside the
Right.
building. That's where a lot of the damage was. You
Yeah.
look at, oh, it's okay, give you this much money to fix it. Okay. The next item is review and approve the minutes of the August 26, 2021 town board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes?
I don't have any go.
Would someone like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented for the Town of Goshen Town Board meeting on August 26, 2020?
So moved.
Second,
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. This next one is kind of simple, but I'm kind of glad it came about. Review and approve a change order for a reduction of $1,500 associated with statewide Aqua Store Inc. Contract to build the Arcadia Hills water supply tank. You can see on the order that the original contract was for $610,260. The change is $1,500, so the new contract will be $608,760. That $1,500 was spent by the town before Aqua Store bid on the project to survey it and remove some trees before the bat. What's that bat's name?
Indiana.
Indiana bat. So anyway, so we already spent that $1,500 got the work done. So we're subtracting that from the cost of the.
That's probably the most famous bat that's ever been after that.
Yes.
let's not forget Batman.
Yeah. So anyway, would someone like to make a motion regarding this change order for the reduction of $1,500 associated with the statewide Aqua Store contract to build the Arcadia water storage shed?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. Discussion. Call the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to save money.
Love it too much. Now, I'm going to talk next about the town of Goshen 2022 tentative budgets. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about our budget office. This is my 46th budget, private enterprise, working for the town of Goshen. I enjoy budgeting, but I think there's only one person in my life that likes to budget more than me, and that's Christine Cavalier. She is the best person to work with that I've ever worked with for budgeting. If I ask a question, what about this? There's the answer. And so, Christine, I want to thank you for all the work you've done for us all these years. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into the nitty-gritty is when a lot of us got here in 2006, we were elected to the board. And the first audit whenever you take over a financial business or whatever, you want to audit. And the internal auditor back in those days was Steve Brown, CPA. He was here for about a year or so. And then after that, we got Nugent House. And so these two entities would tell us where we're at, kind of things to look at. After that, we looked at some information, and there were some really concerning things. We had 9 separate debts pay off. One, for example, the road work that we were going to do and produce and do in 2006 was borrowed money, $231,000. We had 300 tax certioraries. Tax certiorari is a tax dispute that requires lawyers and sometimes a judge to adjudicate. We had 300 of them. The big one was L3 landfill.
Can you turn?
Was the L3 landfill. And the L3 landfills went down before I got on board. I think it was 2000, it was 1992 when they did not get their renewal to operate. Well, the assessing department, the town of Goshen, continued to assess them as full value as though they were operating. And the county forwarded that money to us all those years. So here it is in 2006. We have all that liability. I'll talk more about this when we get to the next review in October. It was over $1.5 million, I think, just in legal fees. It was catastrophic to us, but that one frightened me as much as any liability I've ever had anywhere. The last item before I get into this, when I was in training many years ago and planning for a corporation, the professor who was teaching the course said, Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. And it's really true. If you don't plan, you have to accept what Mother Nature gives you. A lot of times that's not what you want. And I do remember my father talking to my brother, my sister, and myself just about what do you want to be when you grow up? And don't wait till your senior year to tell me what you want and where you're going to want to go to school or whatever. You may not be able to make it. Start early and work hard. So all that being said, the review of this tentative budget is scheduled for the rest of this year. Tonight, the board will I'll review the tentative budget with you. And then we will approve that tentative budget as a preliminary budget. And then on October 14th, 2021, board members approved the preliminary budget as the final budget. So it's going to have two reviews. In planning finances of any business or family or whatever it is, household, there are only two knobs to turn in budgeting. One is expenses and one is revenues. If the two don't meet, you're going to save money or you're going to be in a hole. And so that's what we're all about. So when Phil, by the way, was my co-chair of budgeting in 2006. And we looked at the audits, that liability of maturity, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, Phil, you're a financial guru at BMAC Mortgage. You spent money and got money all of your life. Would you please help me put together a financial plan, strategy that we can follow for years to come? So a lot of what you see here resulted from Phil's work and discussing the factors. So the financial planning goals for the town of Goshen were maintain fund balances, or have money in the bank for an emergency day. Financial stability, live within our means. Protect jobs. I remember in 2011, following the biggest recession since the Great Depression, we were about to run out of money in December of 2011. And I was thinking, do we have enough money to pay the people? And so that's when I say protect jobs. It would have been critical. It just happened, we ran out of money in December, we went right into January, new tax money took care of it. Protect services. If you don't have money, you can't do a service. You can't build a road if you don't. Next goal is achieve the New York State 2% tax levy cap for the annual inflation rate, 2%, whichever is lower. Then use the proceeds of the Merlin Coast community fee to lower property tax. When we go, now George and John Vandermolen, who set it up with Merlin, those two went into the barrel with two people from Merlin because we had asked for community hosting. Very simply, that is, we want part of your ticket sales. And we were thinking 65 cents a ticket. And George and John went into the barrel and they came out great. This money is not tax money. It is a community host fee. We tax beyond that. So their pilot and all that other stuff, that's tax. This is community host fee. And so you'll see in this thing tonight, a big number will be paid to us. The 5-year strategy that we put together back then was buy used equipment. And we put that number 1 because we didn't have the money to borrow to buy new. We had to buy used. And I remember the first year in office, we bought a 1994 and 1995 dump trucks. We had about $25,000 in each truck. A new truck in those days was $225,000. And we used them. I think maybe one of them's still even there. Pay cash, no borrowing, reduce debt. The town of Goshen, the town operation, has not borrowed 1 penny since 2006. Develop and improve the functioning capability of the organization. For an organization to work financially, it needs to understand what we're talking about. And I think we've come a long way. Department heads now, when they come to me, they say, well, I need this, and I need that. Where early on it was, I want this, and I want that. Wants don't cut it. It needs to be required. Focus on continued cost reduction. You don't cost reduce at budget time. You cost reduce every day. Increase the effort to resolve the tax certiorari. It took us 2 years. We didn't resolve it totally until 2008. The county had their attorney, the school had their attorney, we had our attorney, meetings after meetings. And we finally put it to sleep, paid it off, and it's behind us. Today we have 15 on an annual basis. We have 15 certiorari. And we resolve the same year in which they come. And I would like to thank Rob Rometta, who's our tax attorney. He is so good. Just think he's great. And that's what he does for a living. Increased funding for road construction. We have done that with that $231,000 we had to borrow the first year. You can barely just put patch hole in asphalt with patches. You'll see in later on, we've increased our spending on roads 500%. Grow the accessible base. That's where you're going to get more revenues if you grow it. And then grants. And through the years, we've got grants. Like get more. New asphalt parking lot in. Kenny worked on it. He did the cupola. And he also got, we're going to replace the windows for 50 grand. So we get grants, but not as much as I'd like to. Okay, so I want the first thing is then to talk about the revenue. Now, this is not tax revenue. This is supplemental revenues, like mortgage tax. You'll see that we're $470,000 more this year in actual mortgage tax than we budgeted. We budgeted $330,000. We got $800,000. The market is hot. And they're paying big prices. And the tax on those big prices is $800,000. Next year, we're gonna spend $600,000 because we think it's gonna come back down. Justice Court went from 125,000 to 175,000. 50,000 is good. Next year, we're gonna put them at 175,000 again. Sales tax went from 1.1 billion to 1.4, another positive 300,000. So anyway, when you get down to the bottom, we ended up $817,000 of money that we could put in the fund balance in the bank, more than we anticipated. We got 2.752 billion versus 1935. And whenever you, going forward in years to come, whenever you budget, forecast revenues, be on the conservative side. Don't oh yeah, I can get 5 million there and you get 3 million. Happens in a lot of municipalities, and it really suffers a consequence. Well, the first cost reduction plan that we had was debt reduction. We pay cash, no borrowing, reduce debt. We went to the debt in 2006, basically, well, it's 4,588,922. So it's 4.6 million. Today we owe 1.35 million. 71% reduction in debt. We paid off $3,238,922 of debt. Our debt payment was reduced from $677,492 to $216,900. A reduction of $460,592 or 68%. The next cost reduction plan was in the assessing department. This started, we put it in place in 2013. This started this way. I went up to the assessing office about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I won't say who it was. I was playing solitaire on the computer. And when I looked down, the person looked up and said, "Oh, I work through lunch." So that afternoon, I went over to the real property tax office, talked to John McCary. "John, can you do that for us?" "Yes, I can. And I can save you a lot of money." Well, Bill was still working on finance. He and I went over to talk to John McCary. And he said, "Here's what I can do. You got 3 full-timers. I'll do it with 3 part-timers that work 19 hours a week versus 40 with no benefits." And and that's where we started, and we then got into things. And but we had one person who retired, another person became an assessor in Walk Hill, and the other person continued to work for us until she retired. But savings from 13 to 22 is $1,113,175. That goes into the fund balance, bank account. This next one is the George Lyons. George was the commissioner of insurance. And I saw when I was talking with George, I said, "George, this NYSHIP, New York State Health Insurance Plan, is cleaning our clock. We can't continue doing this." I said, "George, I want you to work with somebody and come in with somebody else who can do it cheap." So George went to Marshall and Sterling. They made a meeting in my office. And he had 2 companies there, MVP and CDHP. Was that the other?
CD, CDPHP.
PH or whatever.
Yes.
Two companies, and what we did, we talked to them, we pit them against each other. Who wants our money, our business? We went with MVP. And we're gonna have to do this again because the first year we saved $210,000. This coming year, this year, we're only going to save $94,600 because of the cost of medical trips. From 14 to 21, we have saved $1,179,981. So that's the third cost reduction. I just put Town of Goshen employee productivity improvement. We've had a lot of changes through the years. In 2006, we had 45 full-timers. Now we have 30 full-timers. We had part-timers of 45 in 2006, and now we got 50. That reflects assessing office, reflects the PD, reflects, those are the big ones. But we did lose some, the courts, it seemed to me we lost a couple part-timers. So things are moving. And again, so we have a 33% reduction in full-timers, 11% increase in part-time. So now the summary page is this. What's the budget going to look like in 2022? Inflation for next year is 2%, or for this year, 2%. The tax rate changes for the town of Goshen. We're going to have a reduction in tax minus 4.63%. What we charge the village residents is going to be at minus 21.11%. You say, how can that? Well, they're different. People in the village don't pay for our police department. They don't pay for our building department and things like that. So their part's bigger. And then you can see that I just, for a $200,000 assessed value house, which is about a $400,000 house, taxes from the town are going to, the residents' bill are going to go from $1,318 this year to $1,257 next year. And the village is going to go from $418 down to $329. Bill doesn't pay. We don't charge them for it. The cumulative savings, we just put this together so you can see it. Year-to-year changes in tax rates. 7 of the last 9 years, we reduced taxes in the village. 2020, it was a 12.22% reduction. This year, it's a 21.11% reduction. In the town, we've been 8 years, but we've had a reduction. And this year is the biggest, 4.63. And so I put this statement together here. The town of Goshen, I dare say, is the only municipality in the state of New York that has had reductions in tax rates 7 to 8 years of the last 9 years. Town tax rate that the village and town residents pay in 2021 will be lower than 2013. And I put this as a consequence of excellent town board planning and decision making. So the board has done a nice job. And it's empirical information. This is all measurable. This is not, I think, I want, I believe. It's empirical information. Funding for road construction. And Ken was talked to this afternoon by somebody. I can't believe the town roads. They're looking beautiful. Here's why. In 2006, we spent $231,000. the last 5 years, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22, we have spent over 1.1 million a year on average. So it's happening. You can see it in the roads. Changes in assessable base. Now, this can get kind of dicey because you have this is assessed value versus fair market value versus cost of building. But if we look at the assessment in 2012, it was $567 million, the value of the town. 567. We're proposing changes between 12 and 25. 2012 and 2025 of an additional $608 million. So in 2025, we're going to have $1,175,000 worth of assessable base in the town of Goshen. That's a 107.21%, so it's doubling. Now, this may not come to pass. This is what we see today. We have unknown factors. Cost increases due to COVID. If we talk to people like Kenny or builders of sorts, cost of plywood going 300% higher, the wire, this, that, everything, steel. And so this could have an impact in slowing it down. In fact, Mr. Berliner met with myself in the office and Neil and said the cost of steel for his whole building, he thought he could build it for 120 million. Now it's up to 168 million. Now, so in a way, it is when the inflation, when it comes down, I think when COVID starts clearing itself away, the price is going to come back down, but it may never get back down to where it was. Timing and based on availability of materials. Maybe that we'll have these long delays. And then inflation, just normal inflation. Then I've listed all the projects that have dozens of them. Lastly, I have a sheet that I'm really pleased with. I never thought we would get here in my tenure. Back in 1998, we were at A-. Then we went to an A. Then we went to a AA-. And the recession came and we went back to an A+. Then we went to a AA and a AA. This year we went to a AA+. That was Legoland. And they were just blown away by that $500 million investment and that was going to start up and so forth. There's only one place going higher, that's a AAA. And we probably will not get there because of the size of our business entity. If you're a great big corporation, you can do AAA. But they say just one thing screws up in our budget, we can go back like we did back in 2000. So were any questions from the board on this? There's a lot of backup material that George and I went line by line through. And, basically, the wages and the salaries remains kind of the same. They gave it a 3% increase, which is in keeping. We can afford to do it, but no major changes. Okay, next item. And if you do have questions, come see me or see. We'll try to dig out the answer.
Ego's gonna be so big now, I might not benefit from her doing.
So what now?
Her ego may be so big now, I may not.
Well, no, we're
benefit
gonna,
from her doing.
what we're gonna do, we're gonna put her in Jennifer's office because it's bigger.
Oh, well, by appointment only.
Well, that might be. Okay. Under finance, discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay accounts payable check loan for September 9th, 2021 in the amount of $232,479.21. Would someone like to make a motion in that regard?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You didn't make a motion to approve the
tentative budget.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's why we have lawyers here. Pay all these big bucks. Yes, thank you.
I'm surprised the budget office.
No, we're so glad to have this is such a big deal. I don't want to say goodbye to it. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the tentative budget for the town of Goshen 2022 as presented?
So moved.
second.
Any discussion?
Just want to thank all the fellows who were involved in it. I go see Christine, she, 1 or 2 questions, she told me out. So
Okay.
I know it's complicated, I know it's not easy to do, so thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna call the motion in. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Rick. Okay. The next one is to discuss and approve a motion to authorize a supervisor to pay workman's comp claims in the amount of $1,669.84.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All say in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You can see the attachment, approve the year-to-date budget transfers requested by the budget officer. You can see the form she put together. regarding those. Would someone like to make a motion, we authorize her to make those transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Then just in your packet, Christine conducted an audit of accounts payable run on September 9th. Got 0 out. And then as for information, you can see the attached letter from our budget officer regarding the sale of 3 surplus vehicles. We got $5,275 vehicles.
It seemed like the, going through the Auctions International kind of, because we got such big exposure, worked out a little bit better than in the past.
All these vehicles, I don't think any of them ran, they were out in the weeds and stuff.
Yeah, I know,
They
they were
probably-
simple, it's something, but that's good.
Yeah, it was probably, they scrapped it.
And I just want to tell the board.
Yep.
Was Al Foss that helped me put it up for, he did a lot of the work to put it up on the auction for me and handled the transaction. Al Foss, he was really helpful in this.
Yeah.
He doesn't watch, he's gonna work in the budget office.
Good, very nice.
Okay.
Is he gonna be Christie's assistant?
I don't know.
Oh.
Privilege of the floor, does anybody have any? Yes,
Thank you for the opportunity.
yes.
Name, please, just for the record, she needs your name.
Well, what?
She needs your
Roddy, my
official
name,
Very
name.
good, yeah.
the Village of Goshen. Okay,
Yeah.
just a couple of things that you mentioned here. Commend the boards. It's been several boards, people over the years since 2006 that have lowered our taxes, that have reined in this budget. Of course, does that say that the budget, how things were set up previously, it was grossly mismanaged? And just rhetorical, just throw it out there.
By the way, I'd like to say that there are 2 people, 3 people that I'm glad you brought that up. Lou Capella, Melissa Gallo, and John Vandermolen were on the board.
Perhaps even others.
Pardon?
Perhaps even others. It's a long time, Doug.
Since 2006, no, they're the only 3.
Oh, are they? Okay. I don't agree with your using the Legoland user fees to reduce our property taxes. Sometimes you have to invest for the betterment of Goshen. I didn't think you had the say in how to use that money, and that, the voters sometimes would like things to be done here in Goshen, like tear down the Salesian school, build a,
Can I answer
community
that?
center, etc.
Yep.
Don't take away my time, though.
No, when we went through this back early on, okay, if we want a community center, we want to take down the city building, whatever, we tax for that. We tax for that. This is.
Why? Why?
So,
You have this money. It's free money. It's
no,
not
but
part of
what's gonna
Not
happen
part of
is,
the budget.
Keith, what's gonna happen, when you start doing that free money will be accounted for every year and no one will see it. It'll be used for things that, like, I think we need to have a carousel over there. It was only $8 million, let's do it. See what I mean?
No, I see what you mean, but you can control that, you know, you could get something on the vote, things to choose from. You can have public hearings.
Okay,
Just throwing it out there. Just-
okay.
And you never spent the entire $5 million on PDR. What happened there?
Okay, we had, one's called a serial bond.
Regardless, you were approved for $5 million.
Well, we were getting, if you go back to PDR, this is many years ago, the county was 50-50 with us and the county got out of it. And what we did, we changed the zoning in 2014 where when someone comes in with 100 acres and they want to build homes, okay, they can only build on half of it has to be kept open space.
I understand these little things you did, but you were approved for $5 million to purchase the development rights to
Yes.
land here in Goshen,
Right.
which would reduce our taxes as well. Those were in passing. I
Okay,
came here to speak on something else.
sure.
And I will tone it down from what I originally wrote. And it's regarding the cannabis approval or disapproval of allowing for dispensaries and cafes. We're not voted to be on the board, to get paid to be on the board, to govern by opinion. I don't know where that came into play here. You were voted into office to do the right thing for Goshen. It should always be about the betterment of Goshen. Sometimes that takes some extra work, such as contacting other municipalities in other states where this is being done to see how they do it, what problems they've experienced, and what they've done to make it work. I'm not here, I haven't heard that anybody has done that. All I hear is that your personal feelings are what were used to determine the town of Goshen opting out of allowing for this. This could bring in a fair amount of money to help with taxes. So it wasn't a trivial decision. You seem to forget that you only represent the town of Goshen, not the village. More than likely, any dispensary or cafe would be out on 17M, not here in the village. 17M is in the boondocks. It's not where kids hang out. It's not our mainstream downtown, in case that was one of the concerns you had. With a majority, well, 3 of you, ignoring the voice of the taxpayers that came to the public hearing, expressing support for allowing dispensaries and cafes, why continue holding public hearings? Why have one if you're going to ignore the voice of the people? I don't care about your conversations with folks outside of the public hearing. Where did you talk to them? Elsie's at one of our local bars? This is where town business is conducted, here in this building. If you felt this showing was too small, you should have advertised it earlier or in earnest. Have another public hearing. I'm sure at the next one, you definitely get a bigger showing and find that people do support cannabis businesses here in the town of Goshen. But what about setting up an online survey? You know, using current technology to find out how people feel. You know, some people are working, they can't make it. And this is a terrible showing. I think you're part of the, the staff. I'm the only one here.
Right.
So you really need people on the board who aren't afraid of technology, or you gotta hire somebody to help you with the technology. There are like Survey Monkey or these other sites that easily allow you to set up a survey with the proper ID information. So you can do it, you know. And again, if you're gonna have a public hearing and ignore what was said by the majority of people, so I have heard, why have that? And now.
Can you pretty well finish up? You've had about 10 minutes. We normally go
It
2
wasn't
minutes.
10 minutes, I should have.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, and now you're going to waste taxpayer funds on a referendum? I don't think that's smart for Goshen. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Hey, board,
Thank you.
okay.
I have one thing. I just wanted to mention, I guess, to the board and to the different boards that we have, like the ZBA and planning board, that Orange and Rockland has agreed on the 17th, which is Friday, a week from tomorrow, to do right here a battery storage, everything you wanted to know about battery storage complexes. So I would hope that a lot of people would show up and take advantage of that, because it's a new technology. And
What time?
10 o'clock. 10 a.m.
On the
right?
17th.
On the 17th.
Battery storage for what purpose?
Well, they talk about,
Used here.
no, not here. And it's a really new technology. We did a whole new ordinance on it. So essentially now, when you get solar farms, that's one entity. But now the technology has changed that the battery storage, they just do a battery storage, itself and store the energy. And then when they need it, they kick it back into the main lines. So it's it's a new technology, and it's something that we really worked on quite a lot, but I think there's more that I have to learn, and that's why I set it up.
The Orange and Rockland is going to build a $50 million new substation on 17A up behind the McEwen house farm. And they're going to bring all this power there. And what this battery does, or batteries, the power goes in there during low periods of usage and then lets it go when during high periods. So it's state of the art. And so this company is going to come in and share with us. I mean, we want to know things like, what about fire? What about this? What about that? How does it work? It's being used on these solar farms. They produce the power in the daytime, it suns out, and then puts it back into the lines at night. So yeah, it's pretty nifty. And, but thank you, George, for setting that up.
Oh, and then I had one other thing, just as an additional thing in the village. I was speaking with Chief Watt today, and I believe it's the 21st, 22nd, and could extend to 23rd and 24th. They're going to be doing a big movie shoot in the village, closing down roads, and it's going to be a big time affair. I don't know what the movie's about, but it's going to be
I know.
kind of an
You was
interesting.
debating, it's gonna be Christmas in September.
Is that the?
That's the name of the movie.
Oh, Christmas in September, yeah.
So yeah,
That's right.
it's a Hallmark type.
Yeah.
Do you know what roads?
He mentioned today,
Western Avenue.
West Main Street. I mean, intermittent,
You're gonna light up that Christmas tree, so it's gonna be quite.
But it's going to be kind of interesting to see that. And of course, that's one of the things that the county, as well as us and the village, is trying to generate, so that these people, when they come in, they spend quite a bit of money, and there's different fees they pay and so on and so forth. Should be good.
Just an add on, I go to Cafe Inn, who cares, but they actually approach the Cafe Inn, I guess, for their people to come and have their lunches and their coffee. So normally in the city, I bring the big catering trucks in. They seem to be reaching out to our local merchants saying, if you have coffee, you have food, we're going to push. That's great for the village. That's gonna be really, I'm surprised the Cafe Inn, I think they're taking it for one whole day. So it really help the kid out.
Well, we had someone, a man and his wife came in late last week, I think, with a winter shoot. It'll be in the village and it'll be also in the town. And we said, well, we had to have the insurance, we have a thing that we have to fill out. And so they left, they were happy to do all that, and we'll see where that, so it's a good thing. County's really pushing for this, and see what happens. Any other things from the board? Okay, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much, folks.
Folk,
Huh?
folk,
What did I say?
folks,
No, I said folks.
plural.
Said folks, he said.
It's just me.
Uno. No, it's not you. Well, it was red chopped liver.
Oh, you part staff.
Come on.
This is ridiculous.